How do you showcase emotion without dialogue? Well, of course, facial expression, body language, and overall great acting can accomplish such a task. So let me dive a little deeper. How can you effectively portray a complex relationship between two people without dialogue? Let's take a look at Autumn Sonata's piano scene. Ingmar Bergman's Autumn Sonata is, in my opinion, one of the most compelling and tragic family dramas ever. A tale of a daughter named Eva who invites her mother named Charlotte to stay at her home for a few days after years of estrangement. Charlotte is a famous pianist and would always be away performing when Eva was a child. Meanwhile, Charlotte also learns that Eva is taking care of her mentally handicapped sister Helena in her own home. The film essentially explores what it means to properly love as a mother and what it means to be properly loved as a daughter. Before we begin to look at the effectiveness of the piano scene, we must first consider the setup that the piano scene has to work with, aka the mechanics behind the first act. The beginning of this movie focuses on the lead characters building facades to conceal darker truths. The truth that is concealed by Charlotte's joyful and loving facade is evident in the beginning of the film.
Att jag inte kan lyfta upp henne och bära henne till min säng och trösta henne som jag gjorde när hon var 3 år.
Charlotte's truth is that she is uncomfortable with confronting her two daughters, especially Helena. This discomfort frustrates her perception of Eva. Meanwhile, Eva's truth is that she feels permanently scarred and hurt by her mother.
Ska du se hur fin hon har gjort sig till middagen? Lägg märke till den perfekta klädseln som på ett diskret sätt ska påminna oss om att hon trots allt är en ensam och sörjande änka.
For much of the beginning, Eva masks this truth by pretending to be happy and cheerful, ecstatic to see her mother again after all these years. Now that Bergman's established hidden conflict and turmoil within these characters, we've reached the midpoint of the movie where things begin to turn upside down. And the midpoint is the piano scene. Here we see how tension and discomfort can be built by breaking down the facades of each character. First of all, the scene can be split into two halves. First half is when Eva plays the piano, the second half is when Charlotte plays the piano. When the scene starts, Charlotte asks Eva to play one of Chopin's preludes, and so Eva plays, and during her performance the film cuts back and forth between two notable camera angles. This is the first shot, this is from Charlotte's viewpoint. And this is the second shot. Here we can precisely observe Charlotte's emotions and reactions as she listens to her daughter perform. These two shots are significant because they reinforce the disconnection between mother and daughter. This interpretation is quite straightforward. The camera isolates each of these individuals into two separate frames, symbolizing how their views, their demeanors, and their emotions are always segregated. As Eva plays, the camera is largely focused on Ingrid Bergman's facial expressions. As Eva continually interprets and performs the song inaccurately, there's a mild smirk on Charlotte's face as she gazes at Eva. The range of emotions that Ingrid Bergman exudes through her performance are widely subjective, but I personally saw contempt and pity in Charlotte's eyes. It's also crucial to note that the camera, from Charlotte's point of view, never shows Eva's fingering as she plays. It's almost as if Charlotte knows her daughter's technique is sacrilegious, that she cannot bear to look, reinforcing an atmosphere of arrogance and disdain. Now we move on to the second half of the scene, which is Charlotte's performance. She spends a few minutes discussing her interpretation of the piece. Her deep and analytical explanations of Chopin's prelude clearly portray her remarkable zeal and passion for her craft.
Chopin var känslostark, Eva, men inte känslosam. Det är en avgrund mellan känsla och sentimentalitet. Preludiet du spelar talar om återhållen smärta, inte om drömmerier. Det måste vara lugn, klar och kärv.
As she begins to play, the audience briefly examines the scene from Eva's perspective. And finally, the camera shows us fingers playing the piano. But these fingers are Charlotte's, not Eva's. But the second half is heavily dominated by a powerful camera angle. Here we see Charlotte in the foreground. She's laser focused on the keys and plays the piece beautifully. Meanwhile, Eva takes a quick glance at what's being played before redirecting her attention. Her eyes are now focused on the player. Her expression is dark and dismal. There's dread and disappointment and sadness. This famous shot becomes a clear metaphor for the relationship between Charlotte and Eva. Again, Charlotte's focus is solely on the keys. her attention is diverted towards nearly nothing else. At the same time, Eva looks at Charlotte with a tragic longing, a feeling that is never reciprocated by her own mother. In short, the camera work used here gives us a simple but compelling look into the history between these two characters. We can presume that Charlotte never really cared much for Eva. The only thing she really loved was the ivories. As a result, Eva suffered as a child, never receiving the attention and love that she not only deserved, but needed. The piano scene develops greater and greater tension for the audience until the film arrives at its most provocative moments. But this scene is especially powerful not just because it exacerbates the tension of the film, but also because it foreshadows a greater, deeper, larger issue beneath the lukewarm surface of the movie with which the audience has grown comfortable. And once the film leads us to its devastating climax, the two leads destroy their facades, confront their inner truths, and unleash all of the pent-up anger, frustration, hatred, sadness, hopelessness, contempt, and disappointment towards one another. Autumn Sonata's piano scene is very much an omen for the worst to come. From a filmmaking perspective, it's a fine example of how complex character connections and emotions can be presented very deeply, but concisely and organically through precise framing and proper direction. How the camera, almost nearly on its own, can tell a story too painful to be uttered.